I have yet to see a table lighter that works. Just once, I would like to see...
Do you remember when magic didn't come from computers, green screens, or special effects, but from a simple twitch of the nose? In the fall of 1964, American television audiences gathered around their living room sets to meet Samantha Stevens, the suburban witch, who tried to live an ordinary life. Bewitched wasn't just another sitcom. It was a reflection of a world in transition, a time when modern America dreamed of perfection, but was still learning to face change. Through laughter and illusion, the show captured the hopes and contradictions of an entire generation. More than half a century later, the spell still lingers. Its theme song plays like a faint memory, and those black and white suburban streets seem to whisper of a gentler, simpler time, one filled with charm, secrets, and a little sadness. Today we revisit 12 remarkable facts that reveal how Bewitched became one of television's most enduring pieces of magic. Fact number 12. How a Twitch icon became a Twitch icon. It began with a gesture so small that it could have gone unnoticed, a mere flicker of a smile, a soft movement of the upper lip, that television audiences in 1964 would forever mistake for the twitch of a nose. When Bewitched premiered that autumn, Elizabeth Montgomery's effortless charm and this tiny motion turned into one of the most recognizable acts in pop culture. It looked like magic, but behind it lay precision and subtle artistry. Montgomery never actually moved her nose. She shifted her upper lip ever so slightly, while the camera and editing team worked together to enhance the illusion. Director William Asher, who was also her husband, discovered this quirk during ordinary moments off-set and decided to build an entire magical identity around it. That simple twitch, filmed with restraint rather than spectacle, became television's shorthand for wonder. It needed no special effects, no glowing wands or colored smoke, just one woman's expression edited with care. In an age before CGI, such simplicity spoke volumes. It showed how charm, restraint, and personality could outshine even the most elaborate tricks. The gesture soon transcended television. It appeared in advertising parodies, Halloween costumes, and decades later in digital GIFs circulating across social media, a language of nostalgia shared between generations. Cultural critics later remarked that the twitch wasn't merely an act of magic. It symbolized control, a woman mastering her world with grace rather than force. In a decade defined by social shifts and gender debates, Samantha Stevens became both homemaker and quiet revolutionary. Her twitch was a declaration of agency, not rebellion, a small, polite form of power that resonated deeply with the women watching at home. What began as a technical solution to a special effects limitation became an enduring icon of television magic. Fact number 11. Lyrics you've never heard before. If Samantha's twitch gave the show its face, its sound came from a melody almost everyone can hum, the jazzy, sparkling, Bewitched theme. Yet few people know that this theme was once meant to have words. In 1965, lyricists Howard Greenfield and Jack Keller wrote full lyrics, and the singer Steve Lawrence recorded a version that never aired. The producers decided to keep the melody wordless, believing that the music's charm would speak for itself. And they were right. The lively instrumental captured the show's tone, perfectly whimsical, yet elegant, mysterious, yet domestic. Composer Jack Keller once explained that lyrics might have distracted from the illusion. The melody's magic, he believed, lay in its ability to mirror Samantha's quiet confidence without literal interpretation. It was in essence the sound of a spell, light, jazzy, and modern. The decision to silence the words gave the show something rare, a theme that felt timeless. Years later, collectors rediscovered the vocal versions hidden on forgotten vinyl singles. Fans listened amused to hear lyrics like, "Bewitched, bewitched. You've got me in your spell," realizing that the instrumental had indeed been the better choice. That choice shaped the sound of television for decades. Like the opening chime of The Twilight Zone or the rolling horns of I Dream of Jeannie Bewitched's theme, became an early form of audio branding, instantly recognizable within seconds. Music historians have compared its rhythm to the optimism of 1960s America, a time when TV families represented both comfort and aspiration. Even now, the tune lingers like a familiar scent from another lifetime. It recalls childhood afternoons in front of a wooden television static, humming between commercials, and a world where magic could be as simple as a few piano notes, from the twitch of a lip to the jingle of a few bars. Bewitched taught its audience that wonder often lives in the smallest details, gestures, and melodies that seem ordinary until they outlast an entire century of television. Fact number 10. The statue of Samantha in Salem. Decades after Bewitched cast its final spell, a bronze likeness of Samantha Stevens appeared in one of the most symbolically charged places in America, Salem, Massachusetts. In 2005, the city unveiled a 7-foot statue of Elizabeth Montgomery as Samantha standing gracefully on her broomstick above a crescent moon. For many fans, it felt like poetic justice. The fictional witch had come home to the town historically known for persecuting real ones. The statue, commissioned by TV Land and crafted by the Brooklyn-based studio EIS, was not just a tribute to nostalgia, but a fusion of myth, media, and history. The location, however, sparked controversy. Salem's past is marked by the 1692 witch trials, one of the darkest chapters in colonial America. Some residents argued that turning tragedy into tourist attraction was insensitive, that bronze glamour overshadowed genuine human suffering. Yet others saw it differently, as reconciliation through popular culture, an acknowledgement that the figure of the witch had transformed from a symbol of fear into one of independence and humor. Tourism soared. Visitors lined up daily for photos beside Samantha, her nose forever poised mid-twitch, her smile frozen between playfulness and serenity. The statue's presence became a dialogue between memory and entertainment. Historians noted that Bewitched had actually filmed several episodes in Salem in 1970, boosting local awareness and economy long before the city's modern tourism boom. In that sense, Samantha's statue was both a homecoming and a time capsule, bronze proof that television could rewrite history's tone. Though weathered by years of rain and salt air, she still stands as an emblem of mid-century optimism, reminding passers-by that imagination, not superstition, now rules Salem's story. Fact number 9. The Curse of Bewitched. Behind the show's laughter and charm, a darker legend has endured, what fans later called the Bewitched Curse. It began almost poetically on November 22, 1963, the very day of President John F. Kennedy's assassination. The show's first table read was scheduled that morning, casting a shadow of grief over what was meant to be a day of beginnings. Over the next decade, tragedy seemed to hover near the cast. In 1966, Alice Pierce, who played the nosy neighbor Gladys Kravitz, died of ovarian cancer. 2 years later, Marion Lorne, the beloved Aunt Clara, passed away suddenly. Dick York battled a crippling back injury and addiction. Agnes Moorehead, unforgettable as Endora, succumbed to cancer in 1974, leading fans to recall her earlier role in The Conqueror, a film shot near a nuclear test site that left many of its cast and crew stricken with radiation-linked illnesses. Elizabeth Montgomery herself died young at 62 from colon cancer in 1995, closing a painful circle of loss. While no scientific evidence links these deaths beyond coincidence, the pattern felt haunting. Television historians suggest that the curse myth arose because Bewitched blurred fantasy and reality so convincingly. The charm that once felt protective began to seem fragile, as if the laughter had hidden something sorrowful beneath. Cultural analysts note that Hollywood's fascination with cursed productions often reflects the human need to make sense of mortality. For audiences who loved Samantha's world, these tragedies invited a kind of collective mourning, an acknowledgement that even magic cannot conquer time. From the statue in Salem to the silent names in end credits, Bewitched remains both celebration and elegy, a golden illusion touched inevitably by human fate. Fact number 8. Comedy courage and a secret illness. Among the smiling faces of Bewitched, few shone brighter than Alice Pierce, whose portrayal of the ever-snooping Gladys Kravitz became television legend. Her exaggerated double takes and comic panic defined suburban comedy for millions of viewers. Yet behind her laughter, Pierce was living a secret battle. Diagnosed with terminal ovarian cancer before filming began, she chose to continue working without telling most of the cast. For 2 full seasons, she appeared in nearly every episode, her timing flawless, her energy seemingly boundless, all while undergoing treatment that left her weak and exhausted. When she filmed her final episode, Baby's First Paragraph, in January 1966, only a handful of people knew the truth. Elizabeth Montgomery was one of them and reportedly admired Pierce's bravery and professionalism. On March 3rd that same year, Pierce passed away at just 48. Posthumously, she was awarded an Emmy for Best Supporting Actress, a rare recognition of dignity behind performance. Viewers who later learned her story found themselves re-watching those early episodes differently, sensing the quiet strength behind the humor. Her death marked one of the first times audiences realized that even in the enchanted world of television, the laughter could conceal immense pain. When Bewitched recast the role with Sandra Gould, fans noticed the change instantly. Pierce had embodied more than a stereotype. She was the human pulse of curiosity and loneliness that made suburban comedy relatable. Her courage added invisible depth to the show's enchantment, reminding later generations that behind every spellbinding performance lies the quiet endurance of real people. Fact number 7. The Real Doorknob Collection of Aunt Clara. Not all magic on Bewitched came from special effects. Some of it was completely real, like Aunt Clara's extraordinary collection of antique doorknobs. Actress Marion Lorne, who played the endearingly forgetful witch, wasn't pretending when she displayed those ornate handles on screen. They were her own. Lorne had been collecting them for years, filling her home with hundreds of gleaming brass and porcelain treasures, each with its own story. When producers learned about her hobby, they decided to incorporate it directly into the show, turning her personal passion into one of the most distinctive props in sitcom history. This detail gave Aunt Clara's character a texture that couldn't be faked. Her fumbling spells, gentle confusion, and sentimental affection for old objects all mirrored Lorne herself, a woman fascinated by the beauty of imperfection. Critics and fans alike adored her for it. When Lorne passed away in 1968, shortly after completing her final season, producers made an unusual decision: they would not recast the role. Instead, they wrote Aunt Clara out entirely, a quiet tribute to the actress's irreplaceable charm. Elizabeth Montgomery accepted Lorne's posthumous Emmy, her voice trembling with emotion as she called her co-star the heart of Bewitched. The story of Lorne's doorknobs endures as a reminder that sometimes authenticity, not illusion, is what captures an audience. The objects she touched on screen still exist in private collections, worn smooth by time, holding the fingerprints of a woman who made magic simply by being herself. From Alice Pierce's hidden suffering to Marion Lorne's genuine warmth, these women embodied the show's deeper spell, the ability to turn personal truth into lasting art. Fact number 6. The Suburban Illusion and the Marvel Easter Egg. For millions of viewers, the Stevens home represented the ideal American dream: a spotless kitchen, a charming front yard, and a witch who could solve any domestic problem with a single twitch. But like many things in Hollywood, that dream neighborhood wasn't real. The famous Bewitched house stood on Blondie Street, a part of the Warner Brothers Ranch in Burbank, California, a collection of facades designed to look like the perfect suburbia of post-war America. Behind those white fences and green lawns was plywood and scaffolding, the illusion of happiness constructed by Hollywood's finest carpenters. Originally built for the 1962 production Our Man Higgins, the house became home to Samantha and Darren Stevens 2 years later. Its tidy exterior and cozy charm symbolized a cultural yearning for order in a decade of social upheaval. Dozens of other series, The Partridge Family, I Dream of, Jeannie Dennis the Menace, used the same street, giving American viewers a consistent image of paradise where the grass was always cut and the neighbor's gossip was the only storm in sight. In 2021, the house resurfaced digitally, this time in Marvel's WandaVision. The creators deliberately echoed Bewitched's aesthetic, even reproducing its title sequence style to pay homage to mid-century television magic. For a brief moment, Samantha's world lived again, reborn in the digital age. Yet reality soon intruded. In 2023, the Warner Brothers Ranch was demolished to make room for new sound stages and offices. Blondie Street, once the symbol of perfect television suburbia, vanished into history. All that remains are the reruns and the memories of a world that taught America what happiness was supposed to look like, even if it only ever existed on a studio lot. Fact number 5. The hidden labor behind every magical scene. If the Bewitched set looked effortless, it was only because of the immense effort behind it. In an age before digital effects, every trick, every disappearing dish, flying broom, and sparkling transformation required hours of planning, physical strain, and precision timing. Elizabeth Montgomery often held poses for minutes at a time while the crew changed props or rearranged furniture, the camera frozen in place to create seamless before and after shots. Some days she relied on crutches or hidden supports to keep perfectly still while technicians worked around her. Stop-motion photography, split screens, and nearly invisible strings replaced today's computer graphics. Crew members rehearsed each scene like choreography, making sure that props moved exactly on cue. Even the smallest mistake, a shadow in the wrong place, a twitch too early, meant resetting the entire scene. Montgomery's smile had to remain unchanged, her composure unbroken. Television magic, as fans called it, was in fact manual labor. Cinematographers later praised the show as one of the most technically challenging sitcoms ever produced. Its success proved that creativity could thrive within limitation. While modern software could recreate the same illusions in seconds, the craftsmanship of Bewitched continues to inspire film students and historians. Every frame was built by human hands, guided by patience and imagination. As Blondie Street vanished and Hollywood evolved, Bewitched stood as a reminder of an era when the hardest work looked the easiest, when invisible artisans turned plywood houses and camera tricks into the most enchanting magic on American television. Fact number 4. The episode that defied bigotry. By its 6th season, Bewitched had already become a familiar comfort to millions, a cheerful fantasy in turbulent times. But in 1970, the show did something extraordinary. It released an episode titled Sisters at Heart, a story that confronted racism at a time when most sitcoms avoided controversy altogether. In it, Samantha's daughter Tabitha befriends a black classmate, Lisa. When one of Darren's advertising clients reacts with prejudice, the Stevens family must face ignorance in their seemingly perfect suburban world. The story concludes with a spell that makes everyone see spots on their faces, a gentle but powerful reminder that beneath the surface everyone is the same. The idea for Sisters at Heart came not from studio executives, but from a Los Angeles high school class that had visited the Bewitched set. Their teacher encouraged the students to write a story about equality, and the producers, deeply moved, decided to adapt it for national television. Elizabeth Montgomery herself called it her favorite episode, describing its message as innocent and pure the way decency should be. Broadcast during the Christmas season of 1970, the episode resonated with a divided nation still grappling with civil rights struggles. It later received the prestigious Governor's Award from the Television Academy for promoting social understanding. Though some critics found its symbolism simple, it was groundbreaking for its time, a primetime sitcom daring to tell children and adults alike that empathy was the truest form of magic. Fact number 3. The power of a name. Few realize that Bewitched almost had a different leading lady, not Elizabeth Montgomery, but rather the name of her character. Early drafts listed her as Cassandra Stevens, a more mystical, melodramatic name that producers felt fit the witch motif. But when filming began, Samantha replaced it, a simple melodic name that felt both modern and approachable. The change proved prophetic. After Bewitched debuted in 1964, Samantha skyrocketed in popularity, entering the top 500 baby names in the US and breaking into the top 100 by the mid-1970s. Sociologists have since noted how television influences naming trends, and Bewitched became one of the earliest examples of pop culture shaping personal identity. Even the name Tabitha, Samantha's daughter, followed the same trajectory, appearing in birth records across America within years. Endora, though less common, symbolized a kind of mysterious allure for those drawn to the dramatic. The rise of Samantha represented more than fandom. It reflected cultural transformation. In the 1960s, American women were redefining independence, balancing domestic life with new social freedoms. Samantha Stevens, with her quiet defiance and charm, embodied that spirit perfectly. Her name became a statement, traditional yet independent, ordinary yet magical. From teaching tolerance in one episode to reshaping baby names across a generation, Bewitched showed how a seemingly light-hearted sitcom could influence both hearts and habits. What began as a comedy about domestic witchcraft became, in subtle ways, a reflection of who America wanted to be: kinder, freer, and just a little more enchanted. Fact number 2. When Darren changed faces. In television history, few moments have caused as much confusion among loyal viewers as the sudden transformation of Darren Stevens, Samantha's mortal husband, midway through Bewitched. For the first 5 seasons, Dick York's portrayal of Darren had defined the show's tone: anxious, lovable, and always one step behind his wife's quiet sorcery. But by 1969, York's health had deteriorated beyond recovery. Years earlier, he had suffered a severe back injury on the set of the 1959 Western They Came to Cordura. The pain became chronic, and as the show's schedule intensified, he relied heavily on painkillers and long rest periods between takes. Eventually, the strain became unbearable. During one filming session, York collapsed on set, his body no longer able to endure the effort. He was taken to the hospital, never to return to the show. The studio, unwilling to cancel one of its biggest hits, made a decision both practical and risky. It recast the role. Dick Sargent stepped in, playing the same character without explanation or transition. It was one of the earliest examples of television recasting, a test of audience loyalty before social media could amplify outrage. The change was jarring. Fans noticed immediately, and ratings began to slip. Critics described the new dynamic as colder, less playful. Agnes Moorehead, who played Endora, reportedly disliked the shift, feeling the show had lost its chemistry. Yet behind the scenes, York's departure revealed the pressures of early Hollywood production, where exhaustion was often hidden behind perfect smiles. In later years, York found new purpose by founding a homeless charity, spending his final days calling donors from his hospital bed. His story became one of quiet redemption, echoing the same resilience that had defined the show's spirit from the start. Fact number 1. Babies on planes and on screen. For Elizabeth Montgomery, life and art were inseparable. During Bewitched's 8-year run, she became a mother 3 times, and each pregnancy shaped the show's direction. In the first season, she was already expecting her first child, William, when filming began. Producers hid her growing belly through clever costuming, oversized handbags, and carefully chosen camera angles. By the second pregnancy, they decided to stop hiding it and write it directly into the script, introducing baby Tabitha, a decision that would forever endear the show to audiences. The inclusion of real-life motherhood into a fantasy sitcom was groundbreaking for its time. In the conservative landscape of 1960s television, pregnancy was often treated as taboo. But Bewitched turned it into a celebration, blurring the line between domestic comedy and progressive storytelling. When Montgomery became pregnant a third time, the show again embraced reality, introducing Adam Stevens, the couple's second magical child. One of the show's most memorable episodes, and then there were three, playfully flipped gender roles when Endora cast a spell that made Darren experience pregnancy symptoms himself. In a world still bound by traditional roles, it was a bold commentary delivered with humor. Critics now view these storylines as early examples of how Bewitched quietly challenged social norms, exploring parenthood, equality, and empathy beneath its sitcom surface. When the series ended in 1972, it left behind not only laughter, but a vision of family that felt ahead of its time, imperfect, loving, and human. Montgomery's real pregnancies and her fictional motherhood merged into one timeless symbol that magic, like love, is often just another word for life continuing. As the credits rolled for the final time in 1972, Bewitched left behind more than 8 seasons of suburban enchantment. It preserved an era, a portrait of 1960s America painted with humor, grace, and just a touch of otherworldly wonder. From Elizabeth Montgomery's iconic lip twitch to the hidden craftsmanship behind each illusion, the series represented a delicate balance between imagination and authenticity. It reminded viewers that magic could live in everyday gestures, in laughter, in courage, and in the resilience of its cast, who carried both triumph and tragedy behind the scenes. Over the decades, Bewitched has outlasted the world it portrayed. Its music, its humor, and its quiet subversion continue to echo through modern television, inspiring everything from WandaVision to countless nostalgic revivals. Whether it was tackling racism with childlike sincerity, reshaping baby names, or redefining what television fantasy could be, the show's spell has never truly faded. Of the 12 facts above, which one surprised you the most? Was it the invisible effort behind the twitch, the bravery of the actors, or the way a sitcom dared to address real human truths beneath its glittering magic? Thank you for joining this journey through time and television. If you enjoyed revisiting the world of Samantha Stevens and her timeless spell, please like, share, and subscribe for more hidden stories from the golden age of TV. See you in the next video. This is TV Time Capsule.